All right, folks, this is urgent and perhaps one of the most significant stories of the month. The admission that just came from Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, somebody that was appointed by Donald Trump, completely incriminates both Trump and the people around him. This is a serious, serious story, a serious development. We're learning that Jerome Powell is now being criminally investigated by Donald Trump, and he's not holding back. He's exposing the entire thing in a new video he dropped tonight. So before we get into any of this, make sure to subscribe down below, drop a like on the video, comment, let me know what you think about the story. Without further ado, I want to start here with a video of Donald Trump earlier this month, very recently, where Donald Trump previewed a lawsuit against Jerome Powell, saying it related to the Federal Reserve buildings. But now Donald Trump is serving the Federal Reserve with grand jury subpoenas. So he went from, we're going to do a lawsuit, to now let's just throw him in prison. Just watch.
Help that was supposed to help get her elected. It had no impact. We won all 7 swing states. But no. We're thinking about bringing a suit against Powell for incompetence. Because think of it, these aren't outstanding buildings. These are small buildings. He said $4 billion more. It's going to end up costing more than $4 billion. $4 billion. It's the highest price of construction. Again, Democrats. Highest price of construction per square foot in the history of the world. There's never been. Gorgeous monuments are built for a much smaller price. So we're thinking about bringing a gross incompetence, what's called gross incompetence lawsuit. It's gross incompetence against Powell. And it was his baby. And the guy's just incompetent. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. He's just a very incompetent.
So Donald Trump is saying that he's bringing a gross incompetence lawsuit against Jerome Powell, the Federal Reserve Chair, somebody he's had long-standing beef with because a building, a project has gone off the rails, has been mismanaged. And what he's referencing is this year-long conflict he's had with Powell, something that he's brought up pretty consistently. Trump and his allies have repeatedly slammed him over the past year for not cutting interest rates, of course, and the Fed in the second half of the last year lowered the rates 3 times in a row, but Trump's pressure campaign has included a barrage of personal insults evolving into threats to fire him, which he cannot do. But later in the year, Donald Trump targeted Fed Governor Lisa Cook, appointed by Joe Biden. The president and his allies accused Cook of mortgage fraud. Trump cited the allegations when he fired her in August, though she's not been charged criminally, and the Supreme Court will hear oral arguments later this month on whether Trump can actually do that. Can he fire her? But that renovation that he was talking about, that building, is the source of what he sees these criminal charges being based off of. The Fed's renovation has also been a source of ongoing controversy. Powell testified before Congress in June, saying the renovation was a collaboration with various agencies and that costs had changed over time. But Trump allies have said that the project was mismanaged, but the Federal Reserve said the upgrades to its decades-old buildings were necessary, including removing asbestos and upgrading electrical and ventilation systems. The acrimony spilled out into public view in July when Trump joined Powell on a tour of the project, and Powell corrected Trump in front of reporters about the cost of the project, with the tension between the two men palpable. So what Donald Trump is claiming here, the criminal allegations he's making in these grand jury subpoenas, are all about apparently Jerome Powell lying in front of Congress about these buildings, this project. That's what Donald Trump is claiming it is, but we all know the truth. Donald Trump is not bringing this criminal investigation or this criminal inquiry into Jerome Powell because of lying before Congress. He's bringing it against Powell because, number one, he can't fire him and he wants him out of there. But also, number two, it's political retribution for not doing Donald Trump's bidding. Trump has asked Powell to reduce the rates, the interest rates, because it helps him politically. But Powell has argued correctly that that is not the right thing to do for the economy right now. That would hurt the American people. And there's a reason for why the Federal Reserve and the president are independent of one another. The decisions surrounding the economy made by the Fed should be without political influence, without Donald Trump certainly getting in there and saying something, but Donald Trump doesn't want that. And now, in order to resolve that conflict, Trump is trying to bring criminal charges. Now, I want you to hear from Jerome Powell, who released a statement tonight that was honestly quite blunt. He didn't really hold back against Trump, and the admission he's making, essentially implicating Donald Trump in this scheme to out him, to criminally charge him when there's no no basis for it, is stunning. Certainly one of the most significant statements we've ever gotten from a Trump official. Remember, he was appointed by Donald Trump. Just watch.
Good evening. On Friday, the Department of Justice served the Federal Reserve with grand jury subpoenas, threatening a criminal indictment related to my testimony before the Senate Banking Committee last June. That testimony concerned in part a multi-year project to renovate historic Federal Reserve office buildings. I have deep respect for the rule of law and for accountability in our democracy. No one, certainly not the chair of the Federal Reserve, is above the law. But this unprecedented action should be seen in the broader context of the administration's threats and ongoing pressure. This new threat is not about my testimony last June or about the renovation of the Federal Reserve buildings. It is not about Congress's oversight role. The Fed, through testimony and other public disclosures, made every effort to keep Congress informed about the renovation project. Those are pretexts. The threat of criminal charges is a consequence of the Federal Reserve setting interest rates based on our best assessment of what will serve the public, rather than following the preferences of the president. This is about whether the Fed will be able to continue to set interest rates based on evidence and economic conditions, or whether instead monetary policy will be directed by political pressure or intimidation. I have served at the Federal Reserve under 4 administrations, Republicans and Democrats alike. In every case, I have carried out my duties without political fear or favor, focused solely on our mandate of price stability and maximum employment. Public service sometimes requires standing firm in the face of threats. I will continue to do the job the Senate confirmed me to do, with integrity and a commitment to serving the American people. Thank you.
That is stunning. I mean, a really well said statement from Jerome Powell, a really direct statement. But think about what he's saying here. He is directly accusing Donald Trump, correctly, I might add, of pressuring him with political prosecution. He is openly saying, yes, Donald Trump is prosecuting me politically via the Department of Justice because I won't do his bidding. That is coming from a Trump-appointed official. That's coming from the chair of the Federal Reserve. That is not a statement he is making lightly, and he's out there saying it. And we all know what's happening here. It's not like it's nuanced or ambiguous. Donald Trump is absolutely targeting him for not lowering the rates and not bucking to political pressure, as the chair just said right there. It's absolutely what's happening, and even some Republicans are outraged by this. Surprisingly, Senator Tom Tillis, a Republican from North Carolina, said if there were any remaining doubts about whether advisors within the Trump regime are actively pushing to end the independence of the Fed, there should now be none. It is now the independence and credibility of the Department of Justice that are in question. And here's the big thing. I will oppose the confirmation of any nominee for the Fed, including the upcoming Fed chair vacancy, until this legal matter is fully resolved. And this is coming from a Republican senator. Even they can see with their own eyes what's happening here, what's happening right in front of our faces. And that is Donald Trump is abusing the rule of law, abusing the Department of Justice to go after somebody he doesn't like. It's the next edition. It's Letitia James. It's Letitia James and James Comey as well. And now we have Jerome Powell. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. So this is genuinely an urgent story, a very significant story. The implications are broad.